All right, so what I was going to share was a resource. So I went to a conference. It's the CEC conference. Have you heard of it?
I have not. No.
Okay. It's the
But
Council
I'd
of
like
Exceptional Children.
to.
Hey,
Okay.
Moment, how you doing? Nice to see you, man.
Hi, Martin. I'm good. Good to see you. I'm doing well, thank you. Hope you're doing okay.
Yeah, things are good. Okay, so the Council of Exceptional Children Conference, I try to go, I've gone the last few years, and it's a gigantic conference, and it's probably, I think this year they had like 5,000 people. So it's te special ed teachers, it's related service providers, it's researchers in special education, professors in special education. So all of them come to this conference and they lead sessions. And the big thing this year obviously was AI, like how to use AI and but they also have like anything you can think of when it comes to special ed or like evidence-based thing frameworks or strategies that support special education. So they have like stuff on MTSS, they have stuff on PBIS, like strategies for behavior, interventions, academic interventions. So everyone,
I'm
yeah,
pretty
there's
sure the
just
teaching
tons.
assistant in our classroom went to this because she went to Baltimore for something
Oh, that's
related to
crazy.
education.
That's
Huh?
probably it. That's probably it.
So that would make sense, but cool.
Yeah.
So now I'm going to ask her questions.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So what I was gonna do is I'm gonna share some stuff from that one of the presentations I went to, and this one was particularly special because Sam Chu, as you see on the screen, he contributed to this presentation, but he's also one of my colleagues at the U of M, so I work really closely with him. He's my advisor, so I've been working with him a lot on like technology stuff and special ed. So I got to make sure I give credit to Jiyeon Park and Sam Chu because they created the presentation. I did some little things with it just to be able to share it with people in St. Paul, but credit goes to them. All right. And then Momin and Kim, feel free if you want to ask questions while I'm going through this. I'm hoping it'll take like maybe 15, 20 minutes to go through this stuff. And then I had a question to ask you afterwards. All right, so for those who are listening in, uh, there's one thing that it's really helpful to bring up is the differences with AI, like that there's different. It's important to talk about that there's different kinds. So that there's some misconceptions like that some people believe like AI is just something that just came out the past few years, but AI has been around since it actually started in the 1960s. Like there are some tools that I created, and it's been along for that long. And there's a lot of AI that's integrated within all the things we use on a daily basis, like Google Maps or voice to text, or there's lots of other things where AI is even Netflix, like when you're watching streaming services, how it predicts what show you want to watch next is based off of AI. So generative AI is an umbrella term for automation-based associations. So when you're using generative AI, you're using some kind of large language model that uses algorithms to recognize patterns in language. So there's several kinds of generative AI, and each of these tools are based off of different models. So, but in general, they use pattern recognition. So, what words are associated more likely with others, and so this could look differently with those models. There's text-based, so common one is ChatGPT. There's Bard. There's image-based ones like Dolly or Midjourney. Audio-based ones, Speechify is a generative AI audio-based tool, and then video-based would be like Sora and some others. So what does this look like in classrooms? There's lots of ways to use generative AI in classrooms. Some things that are notable would be when you are brainstorming or developing lesson plans, trying to figure out different ideas for integrating standards and into lessons and activities and how to engage students. You could provide a lesson plan to a generative AI tool like ChatGPT and like ask it, can you give me 5 different activity ideas I could implement with my students? Um, there's a lot of different ways you could use it to even go even deeper and create learning material and teaching tools. And then like when it comes to communicating with parents, with families, it can be used to help you generate like letters and things like that with parents. Um, some people, teachers that I've talked to, have used it to come up with different quiz questions for like informal quizzes. So like I have these I have these questions, multiple choice questions that are based off of uh, what I want the students to learn from multiplication and division. Can you give me 5 more questions that are have like follow a similar format? And then different ideas for individualizing learning, providing differentiation for your lessons, and then providing different, if you want to do some kind of evaluation with reading passages or something like that, you could do that. And then we are unique, like our group is because I really want to focus this information on supporting special education teachers. So one theme for this resource I want to show you these slides is how it can help with IEPs, writing goals and things like that. So there's some things to make sure we keep in mind when using generative AI. And there's probably things that people have brought up in your circles when you talk about AI, and they are valid. These are things that we should be thinking about and talking about. And I think that in our conversations with each other, when we're using these tools and trying them out, it's good to bring this up in our concerns and figure out ways that we can make sure that our concerns are discussed and we're using these tools with the best interest for our students. So with generative AI, I talked about the pattern recognition, that it will look at patterns in language. And if you ask it a question, it's going to be pulling from a certain model and domain. And it's going to be pulling what is the most likely thing that is connected to what you just asked. And so no matter what, it's gonna like throw information at you. But it does not mean whether it's correct or not. So it's gonna give you what's the most likely pattern, but it might not be correct. And so the problem is that what it provides you will seem real. It will look like it's it'll look like it's something that is factual, but there could be several things that are wrong with it. So we got to be careful with that. Certain AI models are based up to a certain point. So they might have a model that's built off of data that's up until 2022 or 2023, and it's not necessarily connected to the internet. So that information that you'd be asking it could be outdated. And then these models that I was talking about, the models where they have like these billions of pieces of information. This is information that could be pulled from the internet or other sources. And unfortunately, some of that information, or sorry, I shouldn't say some, I should say a lot of information is biased because it comes from westernized information that is biased towards white privileged circles. So we just got to be careful about. And then hallucinations, that's similar to what I was talking to before. That it will it will it's like the thing that's hard is people will communicate with AI or generate AI and they'll think that they're having a conversation because the way that it's created, it's created to seem like you're having a conversation with somebody. But when it does something, when you tell it something it doesn't understand, it will just throw out information, and that information will not be correct. So that's another word for that would be a hallucination. And then for people who are looking at research, using AI to do research, again, another concern would be is that it will give you citations, it will provide sources from where it got the information, but doesn't necessarily mean that it's true. So checking those citations would be really helpful double checking to make sure that whatever the information is coming from the sources is actually true. And then there are like AI, like there's so many good things that it does, and it is sometimes the same, if not better, at with certain tasks than humans. But there is a lot of creativity limitations. And I think for those who use it, you probably seen this where you will ask it to do something, and like you ask it to like to create a picture or something, and the picture will be like scary, like it'll be like a person with six fingers or distorted face or something. So it takes several different iterations. So like doing it over and over again to be able to get what you want. And so that's just another limitation of generative AI. So this is just a little bit more like a little bit more specific about some of the issues with generative AI is when it comes to abstract thinking and causal reasoning, it is weak in those points because it is just using patterns in language, not necessarily thinking, doesn't have an internal thought about what you're asking it. And when they create these models, they try to do things, they try to train these models to be able to do more reasoning. But obviously, those things need to be evolved more, and that's what they're trying to do. Um, and so, like some common sense things, some skills would just really hard for AI. So, yeah, that's just a little bit more specifics about what I was talking about. So one thing that I thought was really helpful that the session leaders had mentioned that I really liked is sometimes AI is like, well, we should like it's seen as like an expert, like it knows everything and it has so much information and knowledge. But really, we should treat AI like it's a child instead of an expert. So it's like one example would be like if you are telling a child something, like a lot of the times, like a young child, if you're talking to it and you're telling the child to do something or say something, they're gonna repeat back to what you want. Like they want to do what you they want to do they want to be right. They want to do their best to please you. So I feel like it's kind of similar to AI. It's you have to be careful because when you ask it questions, you ask it to do things, it's going to do things to suit what you want. And you actually have to be purposeful about challenging it and letting it know that it's wrong because otherwise it'll play along with it, play along with you and what you want to hear. So it's best to treat AI like a child, which I think is a good analogy. So the specific thing I was going to show you all, and then the people who are listening, watching, is prompts. So a great way to start with generative AI is just thinking about prompting. And so there's this like cool thing that that you will start to hear more about, I guarantee you, as we go through like next year and into the future, is prompt engineering. That's something that has not been researched very often, but obviously AI is here and it's here to stay. And it's something that researchers are looking into is like how do you create input to guide an AI model's output? So those issues with like hallucinations and inconsistent, incorrect information, we can actually decrease that by making sure we write prompts in the right way. So you can really guide AI to be able to help us in this with the skills or products we want if we prompt it in a certain way. And I think this is the power. I'm hoping that this will be something that will be helpful for special ed teachers to be able to write the right prompts to be able to make their jobs easier. That's hopefully with all of the things with all of this, the research that I share, that it will help with that. But anyway, so prompts are a form of programming used to customize outputs and interactions with AI models. It really is kind of like programming because this the AI is built out of these models and domains and networks or whatever. But when you write the prompt, you're actually providing like code and programming to get to what you want. And so the prompts are also the interaction between the AI models and the user. So that's the primary means. There isn't really any other way to affect that unless you're a developer. So the way we prompt things can really be helpful for to get what we want. So engineering is what I mentioned before. So it's the process of crafting, refining, and optimizing the input or prompts to obtain high quality outcomes from AI models.
Can I ask a
And
question?
yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so we've talked before about how like rookies in the field of education, um, the AI, it's difficult because there has to be some sort of discernment about like what you're trying to create in an IEP, for example, and then so it's like when you're talking about the prompt engineering, it was like citations and things were mentioned. I know when I was going to grad school, there were certain people that were considered experts in the field. I guess I'm wondering until it changes, because I don't know if those experts will remain experts in the field because of some of the things you've already mentioned. But like, is there a way to put in like citations, or I don't know if there's a way to like, you know, kind of engineer the prompt engineering,
Yeah, so
through what you're saying. Yeah.
just to make sure I'm understanding you right. So citations are an issue with generative AI because they'll just make up citations. You don't know whether it's accurate or not. So you're asking, is there any way we can like put in the citations or something to make sure it's correct? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, like is there a way that experts in a field can kind of like gather together and put in what they feel might be an important thing? Because I love this. I love AI for education, and I think some of our paperwork is really, really hard, especially when you're just learning how to do it and whatever. Like, is there a way that we can feed the machine and kind of, you know,
Yeah.
make it easier for those that follow us? Because
Yep.
really, education, we teach other teachers and they teach us, and it's kind of that reciprocal thing. But like it would be good to have like foundational things in that would sometimes change because of new research or whatever, but like just to have it there, like these are the classic things that I don't know, most people accept as a legit citation or a legit research
Mhm.
base, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. That could get really philosophical because
True, sorry.
there could be art. No, I love it. It's a great question. There's a direction we could go with this conversation where it's like, what is considered the truth and what are facts, and what AI should be like grab a mining from to be able to use its information. But I guess the more simple answer is that the more we put in as a prompt, the better. So if you really want to have accurate citations, you have to find it and you have to put it in.
Okay.
So like then it's like the AI, it's not necessarily like trying to grab information from its database. It's more like, okay, I have this citation, I found it, I did the research, I used a credible research database like Eric or ResearchGate, or I don't know, whatever those databases, and I found the citation. Go through my references page that cites this research, or yeah, is references for this research, and make sure that make sure to let me know if there's anything I need to fix with my formatting. So then you can guarantee that is real because you found the citations. Or if you did ask it, one activity, if we're teaching students how to do this, is maybe I've heard a professor actually make their students pick a topic, ask ChatGPT, find 5 citations to support this argument that I'm making, and actually go in and test it and look at the bugs in it and try to figure out what is wrong and then try to find the right citation. So it's an exercise thinking about like our students and or people who are or teachers who are, going who are who are in courses and doing research, that we just have to be, yeah, we really careful about what information is being used as a resource or source. So, okay.
Thanks, Martin.
Yeah, great question. So one of the cool frameworks that I had learned at this training was the idea framework for prompt engineering. So this is an easy framework to look at if you're trying to figure out how to generate your prompts. And so that was helpful for me when I was using uh trying to use AI in different ways, trying to come up with brainstorming ideas or solving problems or things like that, is like having some kind of framework is really helpful so I can start to get to closer to what I want. So the big things of this, and I'll go through each one, is to include essential parts, develop prompts using clear language, evaluate outputs and refine prompts, and apply with accountability. So I'll go through each of these and what they mean. And then for those who are, for you all who are in the session, and then for people who are just listening, I'm gonna have like an ear pod and people can actually practice like on their own. So you'll be able to kind of get some practice with this too. So the first part was include essential parts. So the first part would be making sure you think of a persona. So identify your role. What is the aim? So what is your objective? What are you trying to do? Who are the recipients? Who's the audience of who you want the product for? And then theme. Theme could be the style, tone, and any related parameters that you want to include. And then the structure. How do you want the desired format of the output? So there was, actually going to go back for a second. There was a teacher that I was working with, and so she was coming with some really good ideas. She wanted to create some different questions for, for a quiz for her students, and she was having trouble with like, she was coming with like some products that were pretty good that she liked, but she wasn't sure how to like get which the output like to be in a way that she can actually put into her quiz. She was having trouble with that. It wasn't the right formatting. So the suggestion I made that was helpful is to actually tell ChatGPT, please put it in this kind of format. Put it to a format I can copy and paste. Put it into this format that is listed by numbers or by bullets. Or there's some, depending on what kind of ChatGPT version you have, sometimes it'll do this. You can tell it, give it to me as a as a Microsoft Word document. It'll create the Word document for you. So that's the one of the helpful things about structure is actually telling explicitly the AI tool what you want it to look like. So this is just some practice. And so like this would be something that a prompt that someone could be writing, giving ChatGPT. So the goal of this would be to identify the persona, the aim, the recipient's theme, and structure. So this prompt has all of these. So what I want to try to do is for you to for you to highlight what you think the persona, the aim, the recipient's theme, and structure is. So there's like this draw out activity, and you can pick the colors. And so you just pick your color that you want to focus on, and you highlight what you think it is.
Okay, I'm in. So now I grab a highlighter and I do the persona, the aim, the recipients, the theme, and the structure.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. I want to use kind of the same colors. So the structure, the form that we're looking for, a lesson using a table. I'm going backwards. Okay. And then the aim or theme. The theme. Is the theme the like the content topic?
The theme is like would be the style, tone, or any related parameters.
The style, tone, or
So think
related.
of like the parameters. What are they? What kind of? It's like what is like the
Rewrite the first chapter? Is that what you mean?
close. It's right after that.
Cr- um, Create a list
Think
of 10 most.
measurable. Yes. Yep, that
Okay.
would be your parameters.
Oh, okay.
Approximately 1,000 words at Lexile level 500.
And then, oh, sorry. So I was supposed to put this in. Okay, approximately 1,000 words. Okay, Alexa level 100. And then how do I? Okay, I'm erasing this. Okay, and then recipients, I'm saying 3 8th grade students. Sorry. I've never done this
It's
before.
okay.
Aim. A lesson aligned with Huckleberry Finn. Do we still teach that? Okay. Persona. Is the persona like the person who it's for, or the person who's creating it? I'm confused.
Persona would be the person that you are pretending to be. You could be that person.
Okay, so you're
It's fine.
pretending to be the
Yeah.
special education teacher. Okay.
Yes, exactly. Yep.
Okay, so
Or another way of looking at it is, who do you want the AI to be like? Who do you want them to be? Who do you want? What do you want their persona to be?
okay.
Because
And
basically,
I
you're putting like a shell or like yeah, persona basically on the AI.
okay, that's what I was confused about. Okay, thank you. So I sent it. Hopefully it's coming to you. Okay.
So you did great. So your persona, special education teacher, that's correct. 3 8th grade students, your recipients, yep. Your aim is to plan a lesson using the adventures of Huckleberry Finn. Your parameters or your theme, 1,000 words at Lexile level, and then your structure is to have it with 10 vocabulary words from the chapter. So that's what you want, like your output to
Okay.
be. Yeah. Good
So
job,
it
bro.
would be using a table too. Would it be both of those things?
The lesson plan using a table would be that would be structure as well. Yep.
It would be the okay.
Yep. You
Okay.
got that right. Good
All
job.
right. Thank you. Thank you.
Yep. All right. Well done. Okay. So just gonna do some more practice. This one, um, I'm gonna have you do on your own with no help. So the next suggestion for the framework is to deliver clear languages. So concise, making sure that the language it's brief and clear, it's logical, it makes sense. Explicit, so using specific and precise language that can help you get to where you want to be, like what products you want. And the language is adaptive, so customized and tailored towards what you want, and then restrictive and domain specific. And so I mentioned that word domain before. When ChatGPT or other generative AI tools are being used, they're using different domains. So once you start to create your prompt, it actually will start to network from that. They're like buckets. And so it'll go for that bucket based on your prompt and it'll pull from that bucket. So that's why like we were able to see some AI tools that are more specialized towards teachers because it's using information from a certain domain. And hopefully, I mean, someday we'll have tools and models that are based off of our students, based off of our teachers, based off like in our district, we'd be able to take from buckets so it actually gets closer to what we want. But the problem, why we do prompts in the first place is because when you're doing the prompt, the model isn't necessarily what domain you're looking in. Are you using a domain from health and hospitals? Or are you using it from business, education? So with this is one that example where we would be looking for any things we could change to rewrite using clear language. So the statement is, I'm working with children and they have a kind of difficulties in reading and writing. So I'd like to help them. I'm planning a lesson and I'm going to use the giver. I hope to teach an academic standards in Kentucky, and I'm going to teach the first chapter. They have difficulties in understanding difficult words, so it might be helpful to give a list of some words of them and use lower level of text. I need a worksheet for a test. So there are things that could be fixed. And so your the AI tool or ChatGPT might experience some hallucinations or give you some inconsistent information because there's some things that could be fixed. So with this next slide, please rewrite the prompt so it uses clear language. So there should be a little thing you could tap on your screen and it gives you, so just do your best. Do your best to write this statement, but in a clear way for your ChatGPT. I'll just give you a minute or two.
Admittedly, I'd edit this a bit, but I submitted something. So
You mind if we
yeah.
share?
Huh? Yeah,
Do you mind
go
if we
ahead.
share?
Yeah.
Thanks.
I'm like brave like that.
I think what you wrote, like there's a lot of it's just a lot of things packed into like it's very concise. It's extremely concise on what you want. So I like that. So I noticed that is well, that's the first one in clear is concise. It makes sense. You said very directly, lesson on the giver, first chapter, um, Kentucky State Educational Standards. That's beautiful. And then you're kind of restricting it to like, I want you to focus on this information, this domain. So that's great.
Yeah, I
It looks
think that's
good.
what I would do first, right?
I would say this is very clear.
Okay.
Yes. So the example, this one has a little bit more, but I think that both yours, Kim, and then the example are both very clear. So the rewrite is, and then those who are listening, maybe yours is similar to Kim's or similar to this one. I'm working with a student in my class who has been struggling with staying focused. I know that classroom behavior can impact learning. His parents have reached out to me before about different concerns, and I think it would be good to communicate with them about this issue. I'm wondering how I should phrase my email so it sounds professional and supportive rather than overly critical. I want to emphasize the importance of classroom expectations and how consistent reinforcement at home and school might help. If I can include something about collaboration working together, that would be great too. Can you help me how to figure out how to phrase this? So this is a very comprehensive way to be clear and use that strategy. Um, so I think it's less concise. It's more, I think, restrictive. I see parts of this of like you're like providing like some bounds. I want to be professional and supportive, and then but not critical. And also um, making sure that the the information is adaptive to the information that what's being given to the recipient. So there is, yeah, there's some definitely some clear language in this, and I think this would be a good prompt. So one thing to do on your own, as you're practicing through this, is with the information I've provided today, um, I would love to see you provide an example of a prompt for an IEP goal. So don't forget those things I mentioned, including parts. So persona, pretend that I am a special education teacher, or you are a special education teacher. And the aim. So what is the aim? You're a special education teacher working with a student with a learning disability in reading who needs to increase their needs and the in fluency. I'm just making this up. So that's your recipient, a fourth grade student or something. Um, uh, and then the theme would be what is like the style or the yeah, what is like the style that you want. So like I want to make this in a style that is similar to due process, compliance, IEP standards within the state, and the structure would be like how you want the output to be. And then when you're developing an IEP goal, don't forget to use the clear language. The more concise we can be, the more logical and restrictive of what we're asking it, the better. And it's always good to provide it information that you want it to know first, rather than having it as make up stuff. You'll have less hallucinations and less inconsistencies. One thing to bring up with sharing this is that we should never put students' names or data, like private data, into these chat tools because they're private institutions and we don't know what they basically all the data they're pulling from is a black box and we don't know what's in that black box. And so we have to be careful with the information we throw in. So just make sure not to use the names of students.
Okay.
Yeah. And then as you do that, like, so take this time to pause and practice that if you'd like. So just give me a moment to do that. And then coming back, do you want to make sure to evaluate the output? So when you get your output, you want to look at what it gives you and evaluate it. With the thing I think the power with AI is this idea that I learned about too, is AI and humans working together. It's a reciprocal relationship. So when we are given these outputs, we choose what we want to use and what we don't. And that's totally okay. That's the power in it. So when we're evaluating the outputs, like that, let's say it gave you that IEP goal. What did it look like? Do that, evaluate it. So are there some keywords that need to be rephrased? Can we experiment with different contexts? Maybe instead of like I mentioned, like creating a fluency goal for that student, maybe it needs to be focused more, even more. Maybe they need to be focused more on a certain skill, like decoding or something. I don't know. So experiment with different contexts or different examples. Um, and then let's see, your feedback loop. Yeah, so feedback loop would be those iterations. So once you get, like, you start to prune or like correct what's the output is, you're gonna give it back to it. You're gonna give it back to your AI so it starts to learn and you're training it. So that's that feedback loop. And then inquiry questions would be AI is great for continually asking it questions. So when you get your output, you can ask it, why did you give me this information and not this? Or can you interpret this or can you explain it to me in a different way? Can you pretend I was a fifth grade student? How would you explain this to me if I was a fifth grader? And then, like I was saying, navigating those iterations, trying to figure out based on what you're getting and kind of going different directions with that. And then making sure those outputs are just they're sufficient for what you need. And I kind of mentioned some of this already. They can improve your prompts by asking questions, providing more context, using examples, changing the phrasing. So we have that power when we're using ChatGPT and other tools like that. Okay, so the last part of this is with the prompt suggestions and resources and things like that, is to apply with accountability, is to just be aware, like you've learned already in this presentation, to be aware of like the limitations that ChatGPT has with what it's providing you, and keeping those in mind is really important. And then also just have some kind of responsibility checklist as we go into AI and use it more often, our schools, what's going to happen is our schools are going to start to develop policies for this, and our district is going to develop policies for this. And using some kind of responsibility checklist is a suggestion on how to guide us on how to use it sufficiently and appropriately. So Google does have a responsibility checklist that you could reference that is helpful, that's considered good guidelines to follow on ethical uses of AI. And um, I will make sure to share this. I'm going to share like the recording and this resource along with an article that this is based on, this presentation is based on, so people will be able to look at that.
Thank you so much, Martin. I really
Yeah,
appreciate this. That was
of
interesting. I
course.
learned a lot.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Kim.
Yeah,
So
thank you.
remember the idea framework, include essential parts, develop prompts for clear language, evaluate outputs and refine prompts, and apply with accountability. So I mentioned the article that this is based off of. It's called Generative AI Prompt Engineering for Educators, Practical Strategies, and it's by Sam Choo and Dr. Park. Let's see here. So that article I will be definitely sharing in email. I'm just gonna bring it up real quick. So here's the article. The last question I have was, something that anybody who's watching this can answer, and then Kim, feel free. Or I was hoping we could talk about it. Is
Like
ask the
2 minutes.
question,
I have
2
2 minutes.
minutes.
We can do it. We can do it.
Okay. For those who are watching, how have you used AI in your teaching? What has worked? What hasn't?
I use AI in my teaching in writing IEPs, and I really like it. But you do have to discern things, right? And sometimes it gives you good ideas for goals. It's given me ideas for behavior intervention plans. I use it for writing letters to parents sometimes. You totally have to go in and tweak those. And I've used it for ideas, just brainstorming ideas to use in class. And that's mainly how I've used it so far. So, and again, we're just kind of getting used to it though, but I really like this training, Martin. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. That's a great idea. Those are great ideas. So what tool are you using to do that stuff?
I've used a few different tools, but I was using mostly Magic School that you showed me last
Mhm.
year. But
Mhm.
I do use other things here and there. And I do use even in Google, there's so much AI and things like that. So we use it like throughout our day, really. And when I'm looking things up, because we're teaching online in my situation, I use it all the time. I'm constantly asking for images of things to show students or whatever. So I think it's really helpful to build that background knowledge in students too, just like right off the bat. So yeah.
Awesome. I love it. Thank you so much for those ideas. And thank you so much for joining, Kim. You added so
Thank you.
much to the conversation, and yeah, I appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate it
Mhm.
too. Have a great day, Martin.
Thank you. Bye, Kim. Take care.
See ya.
Bye. All right. Well, thank you for joining the session. Hopefully, you're able to learn a little bit more about AI, the specifics of generative AI and what that is, the framework. Hopefully, that'll help you guide with your prompts. And then just a reminder that I will make sure to include the article, that Google AI responsibilities list. That'll be in the communication I send out, and continue to follow up with any questions or anything else that you want to share. I'd love to hear your ideas and hope to see you again soon. Thank you. Bye.